were expecting Madge Blignaut, but you will be with myself, Teresa Miller, this evening. Madge and the Blignaut family are attending to an important family matter at the moment. So if we can just keep them in prayer and keep their family in prayer, that will be much appreciated. So with that said, we will not be having Denielle with either, but I do have a lovely co-host slash lady in the chair this evening, and that will be Heather Crompton joining us this evening. Heather, if you want to say hello.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's my first time, so yeah, feeling a little not sure where to look and whatnot, but oh, there, I think I must look there.
And then joining us over Zoom, we have Clive and René Bushby that will also be sharing with us this evening. Clive and René, if you want to say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Looking forward to this evening.
Yeah, so we will still be discussing the Gift of Singleness, which is run under the Unshakable banner. And we thought it was quite funny that this evening is actually run by a whole all married panel, but no better experience to be shared by those that are married because we have been through the singleness. So I want to encourage you just for the first 2 to 3 minutes before we get into the discussion and we hear Clive and René's amazing testimony of their singleness and getting together, and maybe myself and Heather can share some pearls of wisdom as well. I just want to encourage you, if you are watching, if you can tell us where you're watching from, and then also if you can tag your single friends in. I find it so funny, Heather. You know, I have a lot of single friends that complain about their singleness, but then when we have these events and these talks for single people, they're never on.
Well, I couldn't tell you because I've been non-single for so long. I do have single friends though, and yeah, they always complain that they're lonely, and I'm like, want to trade places? I never have any loneliness. I could do with a little loneliness. My house is always full. So yeah, but I mean, I'm being jovial about it, but yeah, singleness is something that it's difficult when you're in it, and if you're not wanting to be single, and I think it's been very hard for people now.
Yeah.
During lockdown, single people have really battled with just being so lonely and feeling just completely disconnected. Working from home, you know, never seeing anybody, hardly going to the grocery store is the only thing they can do. So I think my single friends have all said they've really battled now in lockdown. So hopefully they're online. And we can just, talk about it and break it down a bit.
Well, I just want to thank Cindy Cornelia Schultz that's already tagging some of her friends on. Thank you so much for that. And Abasha Truta also tagging some people. So get online and tag your friends in the comment section. You can also go ahead and take the link and share it on your WhatsApp status for your WhatsApp friends to go to as well. And let's get all our single friends on board and let's encourage each other this evening. Clive and René, how have you guys been? How's your day been? You mentioned something about some braai vleis.
Yes, that's what we do. We normally do it on a Saturday, but we were so busy on Saturday, so we did it today, and it was such an awesome day. It was such a welcoming day because it was so cold. Oh my goodness. We sat outside like dussies today in the sun, just chilling. So it was like, it was awesome getting the vitamin D.
Yes, I just wanted to say that.
Yes, vitamin D is good. Can you guys tell us maybe just a short testimony of why it's important to be sharing? And I know we've coined it SME, social media evangelism, why people should be tagging their friends and spreading the gospel.
Well, you know what? It's sharing. It's so important. The thing is that you're sitting with a story. There's a story that someone needs to hear. Someone out there needs to get connected. Someone out there needs to hear a message. And this could be one of those moments that could change their life. It could be a moment where it could change a single thought that they had in their mind and the decision that they were going to make, and it can just change their life. So it's so important to connect. It's important to share, connect, because that can change your life. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I just want to say, don't be selfish. It costs you nothing to share, so just do it.
Just Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
And can I say something?
Yes.
I have to ask permission to speak because she's in charge. But it actually made me, what you guys are talking about now, it reminded me when back in the days when we had freedom and we could bring a friend to church, one of my friends brought me to Word of Faith, and then I just stayed. So I've been at Word of Faith since then. So it's the same thing. Instead of bringing a friend to church, I'm so grateful Robin brought me to church. I was already I was a Christian, but I wasn't established in a church. And she brought me to Word of Faith, and I never left. So
and that's why it's important.
People. Yeah,
yes,
it's the version of inviting your friend to church. So
I don't think we've ever thought of it in that sense, because we've actually forgotten about bringing a friend to church, and now tagging your friend in the comment section is really essentially that. And now, listening to what Heather is sharing, I actually have seen names that were people that were tagged and now are regular people that comment and are online and so on and so forth. So yes, that's amazing. There's so many people being tagged. We want to thank you guys. Thank you, Justin Miller, for saying that you're watching from church, from behind the camera. Thank you for the work that the team puts into this. And before we just about to go into tonight's topic, I want to encourage everyone. We are a church that prays. We've been praying. Many of us that know and have been involved, and we've seen the videos of prayer that's happened in our city on June 16th, and we've seen amazing testimonies happen from that day. And we've honestly felt as a church that we've broken something over our city from that event. And we're going to continue to pray. So we're going to start from tomorrow a Rebuild Our Nation prayer initiative. For those that are familiar, we did it last year around about October with Rebuild Our City. Now we're taking it one step further, and we're going to rebuild our nation, because our nation needs prayer. It's still very tense. There's still a lot going on, and we know that the president is speaking a little bit later this evening. So if you want to get involved in that, we want to encourage you to join through the Telegram channel. There's a Faith Fellowship Prayer Telegram channel that you can search for, or you can sign me up to our WhatsApp line. I'm sure the team will post it in the comments, the link as well as the WhatsApp line, or you can reach the church. What will happen is you send your number to join, and we will be sending out a prayer with a template for the prayer that we'll be praying at 7 in the morning, 12 in the midday, and 7 in the evening for 2 weeks straight. So every day, 3 times a day, there will be a scripture sent out with a prayer and prayer topic. So I don't know, Heather?
I also have a suggestion.
Yeah.
So this last week, my staff and I like a theme. And so we like to have themes. So my staff and I have a theme also based on rebuilding. There is a wonderful song. So we've got a theme song for the rest of the year. And it's called Say Yes. It's a Kim Walker-Smith song.
Yes.
Say Yes to Jesus. And it's He Will Rebuild, He Will Restore. And we have been singing it over our city and our nation. So my staff, when I drive them to their transport, they all pile into the car, socially distanced.
Yes.
And and we crank it up and we all sing it. So in the mornings and after work, we sing Say Yes to Jesus, rebuilding and restoring, because we just have to really stand on the words. So just to remind ourselves. So grab a theme song, and I just think it's a great idea to just really, it's part of ruminating on a scripture or meditating on something, to actually have the music that goes with it as well. So I really like a holistic viewpoint.
Yes.
So there's a good tip as well.
There we go. There's a theme song to add to our prayer, which is really great. And so I think we've got enough people tagged on, and the stream is being shared, but we have a really good topic to take on this evening, and that is the gift of singleness. Now, I'm sure all the single people that just heard me say that said, whatever. Whatever, Trevor. Because I know when I was single, that's exactly how I felt when married people would tell me that. And it's a gift to be single, and you should enjoy your single years. I don't know, Heather, the years ago when you were single.
I have a slightly different take on it, because I never really wanted to get married or have children. Go figure. And but all my friends were like, tearing out things out of the magazines and keeping files, olden day version of Pinterest, getting ready for their weddings, like from about the age of 15 or 16. And I was like, I'm having none of that. So I was actually just really wanting to embrace my own independence, live my own life, chase my own dreams. And I just felt so focused on that, and decided in my 20s that actually getting into a relationship would just get in the way of all that. So for me, I have a slightly different, so there might be single people out there as well who think I actually want to be single, because not everybody who's single wants to get married.
Yes.
And then some of us by mistake spontaneously get married. So, well, not by mistake, but
by chance,
meet someone, fall head over heels and get married. But yeah, I think embracing your singleness. And I think for me, I actually want to share a little funny story. Maybe, you always need an icebreaker. I think I might have one. So I had come to Word of Faith, and I had gone to Kumbooks in the Bridge. I had ordered a book someone had told me was so good. Someone had said to me, oh, you must read this book. So I ordered it. It's called God's Call to the Single Adult. So I went off to Kumbooks. They phoned me to say, come collect your book. So I went to go collect my book. And lo and behold, I'm standing at the counter, I'm paying, and I hear a voice behind me. Hello, young lady. Well, you can guess who that was. It was Pastor Jimmy. And he asked me, what are you reading? And I had to show him the book. So I was like, I'm reading God's Call to the... Well, I'm going to read God's Call to the Single Adult. Anyway, he did go home and mention to Richard that I didn't have a boyfriend, because clearly I was buying God's Call to the Single Adult. And so then I never did finish that book.
Clearly.
No, I passed it on to friends. And who have subsequently all got married too.
Okay, so tip number one is go get the book. Maybe Google it, because we're not sure the author. You see, Gavin Hendricks is already asking Heather who's the author.
Gavin, you know what? I have no idea, because I gave the book away many years ago, but it's called God's Call to the Single Adult. And I remember the first few chapters were brilliant. So maybe Google it and see. And I think for me, I was so focused on, like, I wanted to live my life to the fullest. And that book someone recommended, I was like, I love to get a good book. If somebody tells me there's a good book about, I'll go get that book. So I went and got that book. So yeah, that was me.
Well, I think the situation, and as you Justin says he'll buy that book for you. Well done. So,
Hi, Claire. Oh, my friend Claire's watching. Hi, Claire.
Nice to see you joining, Claire. Just going back to what Heather had mentioned in the beginning, I mean, now we're under different circumstances. We can't even really meet at church anymore. And that was the number one social gathering for Christians is church.
Yeah.
So that's where you initially meet people first. But even just to have a bride, your house sometimes can be a little bit of a thing under the different lockdown regulations and so forth. So now meeting people and singleness has taken on a whole other aspect. But yet there's still that thing of the 15-year-old planning their wedding in advance before they've even left school. And there's one crucial thing in that is that you're actually missing what's going on in the process. I know personally with some of the young single friends that I have that, often share their woes. They go on about, I just wish I had a boyfriend, and everybody's asking me when I'm going to meet someone and so forth. And I'm like, but what are you doing now? Like, there's so much you could be doing now. So, Clive and René, just to pull you into the conversation, I know you guys are recently married. You haven't been married for as long as Heather. Or, I'm only going 10 years next year, so I'm hitting my double digits next year. Can you tell us, how long have you been married for? And just give us a little bit of your backstory.
Well, we've been married for 4 years, am I correct?
4 years, yes, 4 years.
Oh, honeymooners.
4 years.
Yes, and we got married when I was 35 when we got married. And you were?
Yeah, 30, no. Ooh, wait, 41, 42, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So we used our gift to the max. We used our gift. We stretched our gift.
We were joking the other day, and he said that how can he talk about the singleness, because you know, he was in relationship, but he said while I was praying for him, he was clubbing. So
It's a bit of a bizarre story, yeah. So yeah, look, I mean, like I said, I gave my life to the Lord in 2011, and before that, it was you know, a life of clubbing and etc. 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 And when I gave my heart to the Lord in 2011, obviously I was in relationships, but relationships, maybe, you know, I wasn't one for one night stands. It was long relationships. But what I did when I gave my life, it was I brought all my girlfriends to connect.
and
So
I would meet them.
and René would meet them.
Okay, because if those that don't know, you guys were in the same Connect group together long before.
Yeah.
Pardon? 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, we were in the same connect group.
Oh,
And
no, Clive.
Yeah,
No, so slow.
I know. I was blind.
You need to get lessons from Richard. He didn't waste any time.
I'm
Okay,
Yeah.
so point number 2, guys, join a Connect group. There we go. So, buy a book, join a Connect group. Okay, Clive, so you would bring your girlfriends to Connect.
Connect, yes. And then obviously, you know, Charl and Pastor Marianne would give me the stamp of approval or non-stamp of approval or whatever. But anyway, we leave it there. And then, yeah, so what happened was I actually, you know, there was one, my ex-girlfriend, what actually happened was I went to the Lord and she wanted to get married. She wanted to get married for like 2 years. She was like, listen, I want to get married. I'm like, okay. So I went to the Lord and said, Lord, is this the woman you want me to marry? Is this? And I even bought a ring. I bought engagement ring and everything. And I went to the room and I said, Lord, is this the woman you want for me? You know. So the next day I came home from work and there she was saying to me, listen, Clive, I don't want to get married anymore. Then the next day she was gone, and that was my answer. So literally 2 days after that asking, she was gone, done. So I was like, okay, well, that's that then. And then me and René started having. She called me for coffee, or I called her. I'm not too sure.
No, you called me.
Oh, I called her. Okay.
I don't know. Charles says, yeah, he had to kick you to take René for coffee.
But he had a part. I'm not going to mention anything. I'm going to keep him out of trouble. He had a part. Okay, so I'm going to keep quiet. He had a part. So he's actually a matchmaker, but nevertheless. So what actually happened was me and René started going for coffee, started getting to know each other, and you know. But the most important thing for us is that while we were dating, we kept our relationship pure, and that is the most important thing. You know, we honored God in that, and that was the boundary. We put boundaries in our relationship, in our dating, made God first through everything. God was first, and we got closer and closer and closer. And then it was that time. René was like, after a while, we went out for like a year, I think, maybe 7-8 months. Yes. And René was like, listen, what's wrong with you, man? It's time to get married. She was like, I was like, oh, okay.
That's hilarious.
Okay. So then I went to the Lord again. I said, Lord, if this is the right woman, you're going to give me a ring this time. I'm not going to buy a ring. Finish and clock. That's it. Done. You're going to supply the ring. It wasn't 2 weeks after that, I got a call from Pastor Marianne saying that someone wants to bless me with a ring. Now,
wow.
Now that was between me. I went to my closet, and that was between me and the Lord. So someone called her and said, "Listen, I have this. I don't want to mention names, but she said, listen, I have a ring, engagement ring for Clive. I believe he wants to get engaged. I have a feeling that he wants to get engaged."
Wow.
So like, oh my goodness. So I went to pick up the ring, and beautiful, beautiful ring. And I still wasn't sure. Can you believe it? I still wasn't sure. I went to Mighty Men in Middelburg. Listen to this. I went to Mighty Men in Middelburg, and there I was. I took the guys to Shepherd's Field, and there I was buying pancakes. So in the morning, like 7 o'clock, and all of a sudden, these two guys come up behind me and say to me, "Listen, I just want to tell you," they put their hands on me. "I just want to tell you, God says, do it. Just love. Just do it and just love." So, because I wasn't sure. And I was like, oh my, they said to me, "Does it make sense what I'm telling you?" And I said, "Yes, it makes sense." And that was the insurance. then to be assured that, listen, I need to get married. The next day, I got home. On the Monday, I sorted everything out. I've got a camera lady there hiding in the bush. And then I asked her to marry me walking on the beach. It was so windy that day, so windy. I don't like going out when it's windy, I don't like the beach when it's windy. So I had an ice cream in the right hand and the ring in the left hand. I was trying to figure out what am I going to do because I was so nervous. So as I proposed to her, I was walking next to her on the beach. And I sat down like I went down like a gentleman does on the knee. And as she turned around, she looked at the ice cream. She said to me, "What are you doing?" So I said, "No, man, look at the other hand." And she goes, "Oh." I said, "Hurry up. Hurry up. I don't want to be married or not." So yeah, that was amazing. And then the ring, the ring fit perfectly.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Heather, do you want to read Wayne's comment there?
Yes, I'm having such a giggle, apart from the fact that I'm finding Clive and René highly entertaining. Also, something that Richard just reminded us of, his cousin Ian had been in a cell group or connect group for a long time, and there was a young lady in the connect group who he prayed very earnestly for her to have a husband. Anyway, needless to say, they are now married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was wanting to meet someone, and he asked if somebody could pray for her to find a husband. So I found that quite amusing.
So that just goes to show point number 2 is a definite. Guys, join a connect group. We know what we're talking about. If you are single, join a connect group. René, can we hear your side of the story? Because we know as women, it's a different sort of battle and struggle. And surprisingly, I must say, they always say the woman knows or whatever. I didn't know. I think, Heather, you also didn't know.
No.
Heather didn't know. René, did you know when you saw Clive? Did you know, like, okay, this God is saying he's got him weighted up for you?
Listen, so I've seen Clive at church and at the Connect for like 5 years.
And she kept on winking at me.
No, man.
I'm joking.
We had more friends then. I wasn't.
No, I'm joking.
But no, for 5 years, so we knew each other for 5 years, but I did not know. Within that 5 years, I did not know. I was more focused on, studies and career-wise, being busy at Shepherd's Field and things like that. And I was one of those girls, the opposite than what you were now with the career and everything. I actually had a trousseau. Do you remember the trousseau thing that you would like gather all your trousseau when you get married one day? You've got all your cutlery and you've got all your stuff ready for the house. I actually had a chest like that. So I was one of those girls that
Wow.
married, and eventually at the age of 30 I started using it because and I'm like, okay, Lord, you know what, this is in your hands. I'm going to start using my stuff. I'm not going to start. And so what I did was, it's like a thing where you say I'm single but in a relationship with God, and I think that is where it made for me a big difference, is that God was still the center of everything. Whatever season I found myself in, Jesus was the center of that. And I had to learn that I had to give him my dreams. I had to actually literally give him my trousseau chest. I had to give it to him and just lay it before him. My dreams, my dream of having kids, of getting married. I just laid it before him. And then I had to decide to focus on him. I had to decide to focus on his work and what he wanted me to do during my singleness. Because I think when you are single and you are pondering the whole time, when am I going to find someone? Can I start dating? When must I do this? What is going to happen to my life? What is my future going to look like? Your thoughts are being, you more focused on that. And so when you focus on the Lord, I know when you focus on Jesus, he just brings everything together. And that's when I went on this mission course for like 4 months. I kind of like left Shepherd's Field, and I said, I'm going to go on this 4-month mission trip. And then my whole life changed. It's like I stood there and I said, I was actually supposed to go after the mission trip. I was supposed to go to America to meet up with a friend. And then after the 4-month mission trip, we graduated and I decided, you know what, God first. And I wanted to stay on with the mission. And when that friend heard that, he sent me a message and said, okay, it's not going to work, don't come or whatever. So I'm like, well, you know what, I'm putting God first, so that's fine. And I just told the Lord, now just take completely charge. I'm surrendering this whole area of my life, that area I'm surrendering to you, the singleness, the dream of getting married. I'm leaving it to you and I'm going to focus on your work. But lo and behold, 2 weeks, I had a 2-week vacation from the missions and I came back home, and that's when he took me out for coffee.
Yeah.
And then
Ah.
we dated for a year, got engaged for a year, and then got married. So for me, it's literally like, and I always share this, like in Luke 7, the woman who was an alabaster box, where she took an alabaster box to Jesus' feet, and she just broke it on his feet and anointed his feet. And that alabaster box was her everything. So, to give advice out there, first of all, make Jesus center of your life.
Yeah.
First of all, for me, my singleness, I could embrace my singleness because I had Jesus in my life. And I could embrace my singleness because I was focused on Jesus and not focused on being single. It sounds so like weird, but yes. But I had to learn that. I had to learn that because there was a stage where I'm like, what? Even my father's like, I've got more pets than anything else, and I'm going to grow old. And also what I wanted to say is be careful what you speak over your life while you're single.
Yeah.
Be careful the words you speak or the inner vows that you make or things like that. Just be careful of that because I know how that can play out. And
Sure.
And the last thing I just wanted to share is that I actually read this today. It says if you fear being single, because a lot of times I find that there's women out there, and I actually know someone, a family member, that just can't be single. Like every time, or not a family member, but someone I know that can't be single, just has to have a companion every single time. And that's kind of like a fear of being single as well. And you need to be careful because if you fear being single, it can lead you into toxic relationships.
Yeah.
And years back, I dated a guy that I met at church, and it lasted 4 months for me because I knew that's not what God wanted. There was nothing wrong with him. Hear this. There was absolutely, it's a nice gentleman, loves the Lord. But our destinies were not compatible. And there was just something on the inside of me, which we know is the Holy Spirit. But if you listen to this now for the first time, and that gut feeling or that inner voice, it's the Holy Spirit actually leading you. There's something I knew this is not it. This is not what God wanted for my life. And he went on with his life, got married. That's great. But I found my husband, and I waited, and I was patient. And in my waiting period, I focused on God. And our destinies are compatible.
I think God will always give you a spouse compatible with your destinies. If you really seek him and really wait for the right person. Because we tend to make mistakes. We tend to, sometimes people, you tend to go after someone that's heart is not after God. You always go after someone whose heart is running after God, his heart after God. Go after that person because the heart is in the right place.
Yeah. Heather, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just listening to what you were saying, and I was just thinking, there's so many things that about being in a relationship. I think a lot of people are in such a hurry to get married, as what René was just saying, how it's so focused on, people can be so focused on that. And I think you need to actually be afraid of marrying the wrong person. I think about myself, a couple of guys that I dated, talk about a lucky escape. When I look at them now, I mean, it's
dodged a bullet.
Big time. So, people grow and change, and you don't know what they're going to be in the future. So you need to be careful not to just be like so keen to get married that the first chap that asks you out, that you're like, I'm yours, take me, this is it, we're getting married, rush to the altar. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but I just think that we should also be mindful of the fact that you're going to be with that person for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That the goal when you get married is to stay together for the rest of your life. So you need to be sure and make sure that they are the right person. So I really like that, Clive, when you guys met, I'm probably guessing, you weren't in the right place anyway to be married to René. So maybe you needed the 5 years.
The 5 years in Connect.
Yeah, Richard needed 8 days, but that's Richard. So, but everybody's also at different stages in their life. So I think my one point I just wanted to bring across is like, don't rush into a relationship and think, okay, this is it. I really want to be with someone. I'm lonely. And then you rush into, because a bad relationship and a bad marriage is a terrible, terrible thing. It's destructive for everybody. And if there are kids involved, it leads to, destruction for them. So not like trying to be the voice of doom and gloom here, but we need to also have great wisdom when we meet a partner. And I think when it comes to meeting a person that you want to join yourself to for the rest of your life, that is your goal when you're getting married, is you're joining your lives together. You need to think about, I never forget, I listened to, there was something we listened to, I can't remember what it was, but it must have been on marriage. And I remember, I forget who the person was, but she said that her and her husband are complete opposites, because if you marry someone the same as you, then one of you is redundant. And I just thought, that's so true. And it's always stuck with me, because your strengths, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and you should know what your own weaknesses and strengths are. And so what's the point of marrying someone who has the same weaknesses as you? Because if you're together, then when one of you is weak in another area, the other one can pick them up.
Yeah.
Like that Ecclesiastes verse where it says that, your friends, you pick each other up. That's what you need in a relationship. You don't need friends that are just going to say yes, yes to everything you say, or a husband or a wife that just agrees with you 100% on everything. Because how will you ever have a different viewpoint or an open mind or be challenged or grow?
Or iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. And so I'm not saying you need to look for conflict, but you need to embrace the fact that you're going to have totally different viewpoints. You're probably going to come from different backgrounds. You're going to have different ideas. You're going to think differently. You're going to be completely differently. There's a very good chance you might never actually fully understand one another, but you can still love each other and appreciate each other through that. I mean, sometimes I think, well, what is Richard on about? And I think he thinks I'm bonkers half the time too. But the point is that we really are opposites. And so we complement each other. And his strengths are in areas where I don't have strength, and vice versa. So that's just something I wanted to bring in there. Don't look for somebody who's the same as you, because you need somebody who's going to bring something that's complementary and contrasting into your relationship. So into that relationship. So just if you are on the lookout, these are just a few tips off the cuff here. So
words from the wise.
Yes, it was Billy Graham's wife. Somebody just typed there. Billy Graham's wife said, if you're both the same, one of you is redundant. And it is a very good point.
Well, that's quite deep. So now going back to the topic, the theme, the gift of singleness. I want to ask Clive and René, did you ever feel at some point that this is really just not a gift? Like, can we just have some real talk here? Because I've heard your stories and they sound like very, but I know that there was a point in my singleness where I felt this is a curse. I cannot, what gift is this? And I can't deal, and I'm never going to find anyone, and so on and so forth. Or maybe I'm just the only one that had that experience. But did you ever feel at some point it was difficult to carry on in the singleness?
Can I just say, for me, no. It was like I was...
but you needed reassurance, Clive, in your relationship.
No. Can I tell you what? I remember my gran telling me once when, when I was younger, my grand told me, Clive, you will never get married. That's what she said to me.
Wow.
Can you? Because I was just like as they call it, free spirit kind of guy. Just So to me, it was. I thought about that, as I went along, and every time you in a relationship, because I always used to have long relationships, I thought, okay, maybe this is the one, But in myself, I had to deal with so many things in myself, and once I gave my heart to the Lord in 2011, and that's when the right time was, post 2011, because God really dealt with a lot of stuff in my heart, a lot of stuff that came from parents, So I had to deal with these things, and once that was done, once I had to, once God started dealing with these things, then I believe He said to me, "Listen, there's your wife. This is what you got told me. There's your wife." So you've got to be so careful not to, two broken people together doesn't really work, And it's so important. For me, it was such a learning curve as well. And for me, it wasn't for me, it wasn't like, a curse kind of thing. It was just whatever, that's what it was for me, So that's my 2 cents. For you.
Singleness is whatever.
Oh.
Well, you know what? At one point for me, I was frustrated. That frustration set in, and but there was something that you actually said, and now I forgot what I wanted to say about that. Oh yes, that find wholeness. What he was talking about now, while you are single, you will not find wholeness or think, now I'm going to be happy and once I'm married. No. You find it when you are single. So that's Agadoy and Khalid. And but anyway, so going back to the frustration season. So during the singleness, I got frustrated. I mean, te trou op die ouderdom van 35.
Yeah.
So I was very frustrated, and I got to a point where people were like, "Hi, shame, Adam and René," and they would actually like blind dates. Like
People.
Then I would go on blind dates, but I would go on blind dates because I get free food. Okay, so.
Oh, goodness.
I hear you.
You take him to, I still remember when Dr. Donnie started at his conferences, and then I would just, we go for coffee, and then why don't you come to the conference with me? And then I don't see them again. So, yeah. So, but then you get to a stage where you're actually vulnerable. So you get frustrated, and you also get into a stage where you're vulnerable, where you think you would actually now let's just go on these blind dates, and you never know, and that type of thing. And I still remember, I know underneath you are watching, I don't know if you're still watching, but there was one time that you said to me, because I went on a coffee date with a sports journalist, and then she told me, And so you know what, it's always good to also have people around you and hear their point of view. It's important.
Yes.
You can be blinded by your singleness and by your vulnerability, actually. Be blinded by that. And then just go into any relationship or whatever, blind date or something. But for me, when everything started was when I was actually accountable to someone. When I knew I can get into a vulnerable stage, I was accountable. And so I was actually accountable to Pastor Marianne, and I was in her connect. So nou kan jy sien hoe om Charlotte en Marianne gewerk, né?
Yeah, because I believe she still went to Pastor Marianne and said, "So, what do you think about this situation?"
Moet ek gaan koffie drink saam?
So, what do you think, okay?
I don't know anything.
They kept an eye on us, like big time.
Yeah, for me, it's just being accountable, because sometimes when you're in the game of singleness, I'm saying the game, you're playing this game, this last thing that you're going in. What you see is not what the people on the outside see.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have those accountability partners or people that really speak into your life that's positive and knows what they're talking about, that you can trust their judgment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, how important do you feel your road and your gift of singleness, your period of singleness, played in what you guys are doing now as a married couple?
Good question. You always come with these oddball questions, Tess, and I have to think quickly. So, the thing is, for me, if you know my background, it's difficult to say.
Actually,
because
no, now I'm thinking. Just came to thought now. Your background with clubbing and drugs, you've got this amazing testimony about drugs and stuff. And then our destinies being compatible, working at Shepherd's Field.
Yeah. So it prepared me actually.
The rehab, it actually prepared him.
Yeah.
And then also in my singleness, where I decided, you know what, I've got a passion for the lost, and Yana still took me on this mission trip. And in my singleness, I went on this mission trip. I focused on God. And now getting married, we love going on missions.
Yeah.
We love going into Africa. We went to Kenya. So it is in my singleness, when I was obedient to God and going on doing this course, it prepared me for when he comes in and he says, but I want to go to Africa. I want to do missions. I want to evangelize. That's his heart. And in the singleness, that I was preparing, and I didn't even know that. We were talking about it when we were still dating, the different prophecies that we had over our lives in our single time, bringing it together. It's like nearly this, it's basically the same.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's preparation as well in your singleness. I would say.
Yeah, like she mentioned, the time that I had when I went through a rough time with drug abuse and all that. Now, who would have known that I would be working but God knew, He prepared me for all these things. So I can really just connect with these guys now. If I had a goody two shoes life, I wouldn't be able to connect with these guys. So God really prepared me for this as well. And who would have known that I went through Bible college for 3 years, married to this godly woman, knowing this before when I was in the clubs. God has got an awesome sense of humor, I must say. He's got a sense of humor, So yeah, it definitely prepared us in our own kind of way, So going through the single life.
Yeah, I just want to say that, God really has a plan with our singleness, and I don't think we often realize that, because the enemy will distract us with what we don't have, so that we don't see what we do have. And even similarly, in my own story, I remember doing grief share, and the Lord said to me at the beginning of grief share, when you're done with this, then you'll meet your husband. And I think a week after I finished the grief share course, that's when Justin and I became friends. Like, he was the new guy on the scene that joined our friendship circle, and and the rest is history from there. But it was so important that I submitted to the process that God was busy doing at the time. And when we deviate from that, that's when we get distracted and we actually waste time, because there is so much more that God wants to do in us. And I loved what you guys say, because the world's maths is 2 halves make a whole, but that's not how it works in the kingdom. It's 2 wholes make something really much more amazing. And we tend to forget that we need to actually take this time to work on ourselves, because, like Heather said in the beginning, when you're married, it's a whole other ball game. I don't know, Clive and René, you want to maybe add to that? It's a whole other, the wedding is amazing. You've planned for that day, but then there's the forever after, and that is something else, because now you've got another person in your sphere, and it's so much easier when you've done it God's way, according to God's timing, with the way that God sets it up for you. How would you guys say what would you guys say to that?
You know what, can I tell you, there's a wise man, okay? His name is Litter. Okay, let me just tell you, Lotte. Okay, so there's a very wise man. He said to me, Clive, start right and end right. I'll never forget those words. Start right and you'll end right. So that to me was very sticking, because coming into the marriage, you have to forget about now. It's not about me anymore. It's about us.
Single for long. We were independent.
So we were single for long. So it's about bringing something. Now she ran Shepherd's Field. Hello. Okay, now can you imagine? Okay, she ran Shepherd's Field. Now, this is a tougher cookie, this, I tell you. So now, and she had to, she had to like kind of be soft now, and I was like,
No,
wow. You know?
let's just be real. I had to learn how to submit.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. But you know what? It's such an awesome journey discovering each other, and you know, even like yourself, discovering yourself in a marriage as me, being single for so long, you know, and I love it. You know, we have times where we agree to disagree, you know. But you know, there's been times, and our first year of marriage was pretty rough because we were going through these things, and we were fighting about these little things and finding each other, and it wasn't about me, it wasn't about her, it was about us. And you know, the thing is that we every day it's a journey. Every single day it's a journey to discover the life of marriage. And also the thing is, I would never ever. I love being married to René. I love it. It's such an adventure. I call it that. She was like poking me. You better be married. So yeah, we just it's such an awesome journey, you know. So and yeah. Yes, yeah.
And it's also important that I think personally that it's important that, again, accountable. I was accountable while I was single, but also as a couple, we also accountable to a married couple, obviously, both Marianne and Charles. And so when there are things that we actually can't solve, and also we're both stubborn at times, then I don't run to the family, I don't run to my parents or whatever. The couple that we're accountable, they are the ones that we go to. So that accountability is so important in your singleness, and then even while you're dating, and then being engaged, and then being married.
I also wanted to say something I wanted to say earlier when Heather was talking. Be careful when you're single who you surround yourself with. Very careful. Because they can actually be a big problem in your life, the big influence in your life that you actually miss the right person. So be careful who you hang around with and who is speaking into your life as a single person. Make sure that the people you hang around with understand what you are going through as a person, that can give you godly advice, that can help you and encourage you, and not distract you from your meeting your spouse one day. So be careful who you hang around with. That is very important.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, Clive. You hit the nail on the head there, especially now in these times. It's having that at least two people that are sound advice that you trust more than yourself is so important, because like Clive, as you said, I mean, you had a grandmother that said you'll never get married, and then René, you had like friends like shame René or whatever. I know of friends that have family members like, oh, you're still single, you know, or look at your cousin's so and so, whatever. And you know, good intentions pave the road to destruction sometimes, because people don't realize, you know, if their heart is not for you and pushing you in the right direction, it's actually not helping. And it's so important that when you have sound advice and you're listening to the still small voice, then it doesn't matter. Then it doesn't matter what anybody is saying or what they're speaking into your life. I don't know, Heather, if you want to add something to that.
I think also what René was saying earlier, I was also thinking about the fact that it's so important that you are surrounded by people that actually know you and know who you are and know what is in your heart. Because, you know, in our heart, we've all got like dreams and goals and ambitions and ideas. And it's so important that the people around you also know that. And I will never forget when I was single and planning to stay single. I'll never forget, I was in my room, my bedroom, and my best friend was there visiting, and we were just hanging out. You know, girls just hang out and lie around reading magazines or doing whatever. And I'll never forget, Richard phoned me and we chatted on the phone. You know, we're just talking on the phone. And after I hung up the phone, my best friend looked at me and she was like, "That was weird." And I said to her, "What's weird?" She's like, That's not just a friend. I've never seen you like this before. I've never seen you like this before. And she had known me for years and years and years and years. So I think it's so important that if you have got good friends, solid friends, people with a track record of a good life and a godly life, and people that are on the same wavelength as you, not just people that, you know, you've just met 5 minutes ago and that you've got no track record with, that you don't know anything about them. Don't listen to those people. What do they know? You know, I just think what René is saying is so important, that people that really know you, know your heart, know who you are as a person, and actually truly know you, they are the people that will also, you know, be able to recognize. When I met Richard, I didn't even, there was nothing that I hadn't noticed anything yet. And my best friend had already noticed, because she knew me and she had known me for so many years that she spotted it immediately. So that's actually quite a good point, is to make sure that you're surrounded. Oh, Steph, love you. There's my best friend writing on the screen. And yeah, it's so important. So another point I wanted to bring up about being single is, when you are single, there are so many single people that do this. And I just want to say, if you are guilty of this, acknowledge it and change. If you are one of those single people that hangs out with your friends, and the second you get a date, which turns into a relationship, you don't see your friends, you don't spend time with your friends, you just move on and like isolate yourself with that person, that is a very bad practice. Because first of all, you're ditching your friends. These are the people that are there for you. These are the people that are still going to be there for you. I mean, Steph and I have been friends since high school. When she moved to Port Elizabeth, we met, became friends. We are still best friends to this day. She doesn't live in PE. I mean, we talk on the phone, we're on WhatsApp. We see each other in and out of town. And people that know you and are there for you in the tough times, those people are going to be there for you in the good times also. So if you're going through stuff and you've got friends that are supporting you through the good times and the bad times, then you meet someone, don't ditch your friends. So many people do this, and these people swing from a relationship into a friendship circle. Then they're only, then they haven't got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, so they're with their mates. Then they ditch their mates because they've now met somebody. So when you in a new relationship, you actually want to be surrounded by the people that know you the best, because they're the people that are going to notice if something's not right in that relationship, if the person is treating you badly, if you are becoming less of yourself instead of a better version of yourself. Because when you're in a relationship, that person is supposed to bring out the best in you, not the worst in you. So I'm so grateful that I have always put my friends not first in my life, but they've always been high on my priority list, and they will always be high on my priority list. My best friends are my best friends for life. And so just as I'm committed to my marriage, I'm also committed to my friendships and my other relationships. So we need to make sure that we're not flighty. So if you're flighty in your friendships, there's a good chance you're going to fall into the wrong relationships too. So maybe that's something that people need to look at and say, okay, the gift of singleness. Could I maybe embrace this time and make the most of these awesome friendships that I have, and actually, be a positive, in relationships with other people, and have, spend time with other friends and build them up and encourage one another, and, have a good friendship circle is so important. And to stick with those friends if you do meet someone. Because that someone may not last, but your friends will. And when you meet the right person, they will be the first people to notice. They will be the first people cheering you on towards your wedding day and all the rest of it. So I think that when you're single, you need to also make sure that you keep the balance with your friendship circle and bring that along with you when you are no longer single. So because we're assuming that the people who are single are at some point going to meet someone. So
yes, we're trusting with you and for you. This has been such an awesome conversation, and I see our time is a little bit fleeting. And I trust that those that have been watching or that will be watching this gather some good wisdom. So we got the tips: is buy a book, join a connect group, ask Richard for advice, And then lastly, be accountable. Like
Yeah.
surround yourself with people that you are accountable to. That means you trust, even when they disagree with you,
Yeah.
that you trust their, what it is that they are deciding. I know I had that. That was vitally important as well. So I just want to ask in closing, any last advice for those to encourage those that their singleness is actually a gift in this time and that it's also just a season. So remember that it's also just a season. But any closing thoughts, Clive and René?
Well, I just wanted to say that yes, you are single, and embrace your singleness, and also know that God is so real and He's so active in your life that in your singleness, keep your focus on Him. And if you don't know Jesus Christ, if you're not there yet or something like that, get to know Him. Give your heart to the Lord, because you know what? If it wasn't for me focusing on Jesus Christ, and I'm going to make this super spiritual, because you know what? It is a spiritual fact, because God has created you for a purpose, and He created your husband or your spouse as well, and together you have a purpose in that marriage thing. So this is what I want to say. God is real. He is active in your life. Just surrender everything to Him, your dreams, whatever it is that you have, and see how He works it out for you.
Okay, Martin.
Yeah.
I put three things down here quickly. I can't understand what I wrote, but I'm going to go for it. Okay. So the first thing is I wrote down, don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Don't be hateful just to get married now because everyone's getting married. So just be patient with yourself, because maybe your spouse is not ready for you at this moment in time. Like I wasn't ready. Yeah, so she prayed a very long time for me. So I wasn't ready. So number two is that you need to set boundaries in your friendship. Set boundaries in your dating as a single person. Always have boundaries. And then number three is always stay pure. Whether you first dating as a teenager or whether you're going on in life as even a divorced person. When you meet someone again, stay pure. God honors that. And that is because if you don't stay pure, you open yourself up to another different kind of situation. So stay pure. That's my three things.
Well, I just want to thank you, Clive and René. That was a
awesome.
wonderful, wonderful story. And as you, those that are watching, it's just also an encouragement that, if you're patient, God works in divine timing, with a divine plan. I've loved having Heather. Thank you for joining us this evening. Do you have any last pebbles or pearls of wisdom to share?
I liked what Clive had to say, definitely with regards to, now I'm on screen and I've panicked and I've forgotten what I was saying. It's all very spontaneous. No, I just want to say, it's great also to see such a wonderful marriage from two people who had such totally different lives. I love to see couples who come together and have a successful relationship. So I just think chase your dreams, So what Clive was saying and René was saying about the dreams that you have, chase your dreams, live your best life, literally just follow your heart, do what God puts in front of you, do it to the best of your ability. And don't worry about the rest of it. And some advice I see on the screen, we've had a few bits of advice. See one from Stephanie Corney says, have a good friend with discernment.
Yes.
And don't say no to blind dates. I think that's something René would also agree with. Don't say no to a blind date. Yeah, you never know, because sometimes people know you better than you know yourself. And if they want to set you up with someone, give it a shot. Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
It's a free meal.
and a good cup of coffee, hopefully. Well, that's it from us. I just want to close in adding as well that don't focus on what you don't have in your hands. Focus on what you have in your hands. I think something that was said right off the bat is it's easy to enjoy your singleness when you have something that you're driving for. So if it's studies or a career or something that's not
Yes.
marriage, but that is something that is for you, because the last thing you want is to lose yourself in your marriage. You still stay you when you're married. I don't become a different Tess when I'm married. I become a better Tess. So that is so important, to take the time to find out who you are in Christ and to stop wasting the time. So if you've been a person, you're stuck in frustration, you can relate to most of the things that have been mentioned, start today. Start now. Start when you hear this thing, to change the narrative, to change your perspective on your singleness. And if you're struggling, ask the Lord to come in and assist you, because almost every story I know of always begins with, I didn't know, and then the Lord spoke. So start somewhere. And I just want to encourage you that tomorrow, again, we are starting with the Rebuild Our Nation Prayer Initiative. So if you haven't signed up, you can still sign up for that, and invite your friends to join as well. Nice, simple, easy prayers. We'll be praying together for our nation, for our country, to see God move and transform our country. I want to encourage you to join us next week for our services. And next week, Sunday, we will be having Pastor Tammy DeFinn, who is also our guest speaker at our Rise conference this year. So August, we will be focusing on everything leading up to Rise in our 7 p.m. slots, with some amazing guest speakers and some amazing women sharing. So with that, I want to bid you good night.